welcome back to my channel. In our last week video, we started to explore the psychological aspects of Squid Game, and we explore how certain drives such as desperation and choice led people to play these games. Today we are stepping into the game floor itself to analyze, to see what each challenge reveals about human nature, morality, and as well how our brain works under immense pressure. The genius and the horror of Squid Games really lies in how it strips away morality from participants and is forcing them to take these very raw and primal decisions. Let's start with the classic, Conformity and Obedience. Think about the red light, green light, or any of the early games where rules are brutally enforced. The sheer number of participants, the presence of masked guards, and the immediate deadly consequences of disobedience create an environment ripe for conformity. Individuals, even when the instincts scream otherwise, often follow the crowd. This echoes classic psychological experiments like Milgram's obedience studies, where ordinary people complied with authority figures, even when it meant inflicting harm. The system's power is absolute, and the players quickly learn that their survival depends on unquestioning obedience. Even the seemingly simple act of standing still or moving only when permitted becomes a life or death decision, reinforcing the power dynamic. The fear of immediate punishment overrides individual autonomy. And then we move to games that shatter alliances and expose the brutal truth between empathy and betrayal. The Marbles, the game in season 1, is a heartbreaking example, forcing players to betray their closest companions for survival. And we see similar dynamics in later seasons where the trust is being built only to be inevitably broken. And this actually highlights the prisoner's dilemma in the most extreme form. The rational choice for individual survival often leads to a worse outcome for the group. The brain's capacity for empathy, often mediated by areas like insula and mirror neural system, which allows us to simulate others' feelings, is severely challenged and often overridden by the primal drive for self-preservation. The emotional toll that the betrayal has on people is immense. It shows that the survivors, they deal with deep guilt and despair, and that kind of shows us that even though their bodies, they survive, but the minds are still deeply wounded. So now let's consider the sensory experience of these games and how it differs from something like self-soothing. Do you know why we cannot tickle ourselves? If you don't, then most probably you haven't seen one of my videos, so I would encourage you to go and watch it. And in this video, I explore research done by Blackmore, Wolper, and Fried, who actually discovered that our brain has a sensory cancellation system. When initially we move our hand like that because we want to tickle ourselves, our brain predicts the sensation and dampens the response in our somatosensory cortex. And this is why the self-generated sensations, they feel much less intense. And this is actually highly relevant to Squid Games because almost all the stimuli, the sound, the touch, the threats, are externally generated and highly unpredictable. The brain cannot predict this sensation based on its own motor commands. This means there is no sensory cancellation, leading to heightened, unfiltered, and often terrifying sensory experience. This lack of control, predictability, and combined with high stakes, amplifies the psychological impact of every moment in the game. So the games are designed to keep the players in a constant state of hypervigilance and fear. But that then leads to the state where every little movement, every little sound, every little touch of maybe another player or the guard is perceived with the maximum intensity, and that leads to sensory overload and also to this immense ongoing stress. And finally, games like Glass Bridge in season 1 are specifically designed to test the risk assessment, and decision making under uncertainty. Players are forced to make life or death choices with incomplete information. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thoughts and planning, is under immense pressure, while the amygdala is screaming danger. And this often can lead to cognitive biases. That means that instead of taking decisions based on our rational mind and thinking, we might start making decisions based on social cues, our intuition, certain superstitions. But then obviously as a result of that, we might then have to deal with some fatal consequences. The pressure of time, the awareness of being observed, the awareness of the consequences, of potential consequences of the decision can create an environment where even the most logical mind can falter. We see players trying to deduce patterns, but ultimately they are at the mercy of the chance and the game's design. The games in Squid Game, they are more than just challenges, they are psychological experiments that they reveal the depth of human desperation, the fragility of morality, and also the raw, unfiltered reactions of our brains when they are pushed to the absolute limits. They reveal the thin veneer of civilization and how quickly it can crumble under extreme pressure. In our next week video, which is gonna be the last one from the series, we are going to step back and we're gonna look at the architects of this horrific system. We are going to explore the societal critic, the dark psychology of power, and also the lasting impact on those who survived. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, then please like it, subscribe, and I'm gonna see you in the next one then. Thank you. Bye bye.